Hey, what's going on? Set Apart Gardens family, man. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to everybody. Man, I just wanted to come, you know, drop some gems on y'all, man, or just a word really that really came across my mind, and you know, that's really been on my spirit, on my mind, you know, for the past couple of days, and I feel like it'll benefit y'all. And you know, I'm gonna try to do this weekly at least, you know what I mean, to drop some game on y'all. Y'all see my sheep over there and they padded and all that good stuff. But anywho, I'm gonna start it like this. And I posted this on my Facebook earlier today. We have to get back to eating more whole foods, because it's the processed foods that's killing us. It's the processed foods that's giving us diabetes. It's the processed foods that's giving us high blood pressure. It's the processed foods, right? And this is the thing, right? So let's classify processed versus whole foods. So I'm gonna tell you what I mean by whole foods. Whole foods are any fruit or vegetable you can go to the grocery store and buy that's whole. Any food product like eggs that you could buy that's whole, that's nothing has been altered by it. I mean, nothing has altered it. It hasn't been altered by anything. Same thing with meat. You know what I mean? Anything that you can go and buy that's as close to its normal state as possible. Now, of course, you know, with meat, it's being butchered and all that stuff, but still, it's still a whole food. You know what I mean? You can even buy some milks and stuff like that that's whole. You know what I mean? If you buy from farmers and stuff like that, because a lot of the milk that's in the grocery stores is processed, ultra processed. So I'm saying all of that to say we need to eat more whole foods, because think about it. What's one of the #1 things we do, especially as Americans? We've been taught to snack. You know what I mean? Snacks are, they're marketed to us. Let me take this out of my ear. Snacks are marketed so much to us that we have adopted it as a normal part of life, right? Because, you know, when you go to the grocery store or the supermarket, wherever, the most things that you're gonna find on shelves are snacks, crackers, cookies, chips, you know what I mean? Peanut butter and jelly, you know, just all kind of things that you can snack on. And this is the thing, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with snacks, but there is something wrong with snacks in excess. And what I mean by that is snacks, right? If we look at our ancestors, and I'm not talking about, you know, 400-500 years back. No, I'm talking about our ancestors back in like the Paleo age, the Paleolithic age, and the Neolithic age, and all these different things, like way back in the days. They didn't snack. They were, especially the first humans, some of the first humans were hunter-gatherers. So that means they lived in their body lived in a state that was a feast or famine type of mentality. So they were used to fasting. They were used to sometimes eating only once a day, and their bodies thrived. They didn't snack. Whenever they got a meal, that's when they ate that meal, and that's when they fueled up, and their body stored, whether it's the proteins, whether it's the fats, whether it's the sugars, their body stored it up in times when there was a famine. So when it was time to feast, they would feast. But in the famine times, their body had already stored up what they needed to survive through the famine. So I'm just saying all that to say they didn't snack. Even if you move past the hunter-gatherer age into the agriculture, you know what I mean, in the pastoralism and all that type stage, where, you know, our people were growing their own foods and they were farming, they still didn't necessarily snack. You know what I mean? They ate meals. They went outside, they worked all day, they tilled the land, they toiled the land, they were pastoralists, they were shepherds, and all of that type of stuff, or whatever they worked in. It could have been carpentry, masonry, whatever. But they would go outside, they would work, and then they would maybe eat once or twice a day. You see what I'm saying? A huge meal. Because they looked at food as fuel. They didn't look at food as pleasure. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that nowadays, you know what I mean, especially in this day and age, we look at food as pleasure. That's why it's so marketed to us. That's why all of the boxes that, or the bags that these snacks and these ultra processed foods come in, it's so colorful, and it's so it looks so appetizing. Like even the commercials, right? Say for instance, you got a Denny's commercial or IHOP commercial. What do? They have that perfect set of pancakes right there, and they pouring that syrup on it, and it's really not syrup, it's really, you know, doggone oil that they pouring on it that looks like syrup, and they holding up the pancakes with straws in between it. You see what I'm saying? And the butter is fake, it's not real, that's on there, but it looks so appetizing, even though the whole marketing strategy is to have some fake food on there that looks real, that will appease you, that will make you desire that. So I lost my train of thought, but anyways, I'm saying all that to say it's a reason why it's been so marketed to us. Y'all look at my man, beautiful land, and the season's changing too, it's still beautiful. But we have to realize that it's a reason why they have tricked us into thinking that food should be more pleasurable than what it is, because food is already pleasurable as fuel, and there's nothing wrong with making food taste good, but there is something wrong with what's the word I'm looking for, with overhyping it, right? Just like with pornography, right? With, you know, with corn, I'm gonna say corn, with corn, right? It gives you an image of what intimacy looks like in a perverted manner. And it's the same thing that they do with our food sources, is they pervert it and they make it seem like, man, you gotta have this Baconator from Wendy's, and you know, you gotta have this snack, these chips, these new flaming hot Cheetos, you know, and all that type of stuff. And the whole time is the snacks or the food or the ultra processed foods that they're giving you and that we're putting in our body maybe contains 10% of real food. Because if you ever look on the back of a bag, a chip bag or a cookie box, you'll see a long list of ingredients. Half of them, no, more than half of them, you can't even pronounce. And then when you start looking these things up, they put all these different agents, these chemicals, these preservatives, these nitrates, these nitrites, all these different things to preserve that food so it has a long shelf life. So it has a long shelf life. And while it's preserving it to have a long shelf life, what do you think it's doing in your body when you digest it? Because the same way it can sit on a shelf for 5 years, it can sit in your body for 5 years. And it can start to accumulate more and more and form cancers and form all different type of things inside of your body, inside of your colon, inside of your intestines. You see what I'm saying? So I say all that to say, let's get back to eating whole foods more than we eat processed foods. And with processed foods, it's not just cakes and cookies and chips and stuff like that, but you also have what? You have your frozen TV dinners, you have your sausages and hot dogs that you buy as well. You have all of these, you know, it could be dinner as well and breakfast, you know, where you getting these hash browns, or you getting these potato wedges, or you know what I mean, Hot Pockets, Stouffer's mac and cheese. Because I'm gonna tell you something, I grew up off TV dinners, I grew up off Roman noodles, I grew up off hot dogs, and that is not real food, majority of it. Now of course you do got some more healthier options, right? And when it comes to, because I know everybody's not gonna be able to make their own sausage from scratch and their own hot dogs, I understand that. But when it comes to stuff like that, excuse me, when it comes to stuff like that, try to get the best, most healthiest option that you can with your hot dogs, with your sausages, with your lunch meat, with your TV dinners. But at the same time, try to eat less of that and try to eat more of whole foods. Try to eat more eggs, try to eat more oatmeals, try to eat more grits, even though that is processed too, you know, oatmeals and grits, it's processed. But at the same time, you get more real food with stuff like that, with rices and grains and stuff like that, than you do with a lot of these TV dinners and all that type of stuff. But eat more meats that you can get fresh. You see what I'm saying? And when you're shopping for your meat, try to go to the local butcher's market if you have one, or try to find a local farmer, or try to find the healthiest option of that you can. But even in general, of just eating more whole foods, you're automatically eating more healthier than the processed foods, because even if this cow was raised on a feedlot, it's still more real than this TV dinner that has a shelf life of 5 years. You see what I'm saying? Even though, you know, it might have been fed all these type of things, it might have been pumped with steroids, it's still more of a whole food than these ultra processed foods. It's one step at a time, you guys, because we got to realize these unhealthy things have been so intertwined in our community and so intertwined in our country that it's like sometimes you got to choose. Okay, well, I know this ain't healthy for sure, but I know this ain't healthy, but it's healthier than that. You know what I mean? Even with, like, you know, eating whole foods as far as vegetables that you can go in the produce section and get. I don't care if you get it from Walmart. Eat a whole food, because it's better than, because the corn that's out of the produce section or the tomatoes out of the produce section is more healthier than the canned version, or it's more healthier than, you know, this TV dinner or these ramen noodles. So try to eat more whole foods. You see what I'm saying? And you will see a increase in your health. You'll see, you know, you start to lose more weight because, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna start wrapping it up, because this is the thing, right? And I've heard this on multiple occasions. I've heard people say, literally, man, I went to, you know, Brazil, or I went to Colombia, or I went to Panama, or I went to Europe, and I was eating everything. I was, man, excuse me, they say, man, I was having the time of my life. Man, I was eating all these good foods and I was losing weight. But when I got back to America and I was eating those same things or even less, I gained that weight back. You know why that is? Because different countries, a lot of those different countries use more whole food ingredients in the meals that they prepare and in the food that they prepare. And also a lot of their snacks and a lot of their, you know, processed foods are more regulated than what's regulated in America, because you got to remember, America is a capitalist society. America is built on capitalism, so anything that can make $1 quick is going to fly. You see what I'm saying? And that allows, you know, these different inspection agencies to be more lax on what people can put in food that they can get away with. You see what I'm saying? And so other countries, it's not like that. So, you know, as a matter of fact, it was a picture going around comparing a bottle of ketchup from the UK versus a bottle of ketchup from the US. And the bottle of ketchup from the UK had half the ingredients that the bottle of ketchup from the US had. And all of those ingredients, you can clearly read them and see what they were, and they were whole food ingredients. But the US's label had more than half, or had 2 times the ingredients as the bottle from the UK, and more than half of those ingredients you couldn't tell me what it was. So I understand we're not going to be able to change the food industry, but we can change what food comes into our house. So I'm going to give you a solution, right? I'm going to give you solutions on how to eat more whole foods. And I'm on this journey myself, y'all. I'm not perfect. You see, I'm trying to lose a little, you know what I mean? Shout out Liberty University, you know what I mean? But anyways, I'm trying to lose this gut myself. And I've been starting on that journey. So what I would say is to start, right? How to eat more whole foods. When you go grocery shopping, buy things like rice. Large bags of rice. That's a grain. That's a whole grain. You know what I mean? I know people debate, oh, brown rice or white rice, whatever. Don't even get into all that. Just get some rice. You see what I'm saying? Go to the produce section. Stock up on produce. Try to do things to preserve your own produce. Start canning. Or you can get a freeze dryer? Get a freeze dryer, you know, so you can freeze dry foods, or get a dehydrator so you can dehydrate foods, vegetables, different things like that, so you can dehydrate and rehydrate. So you can go and buy, you know, 2 pounds of apples, 2 pounds of oranges, whatever, and that'll last you for the whole month, because of course some stuff is gonna go bad. Also, when you buy bananas, you can freeze bananas as well. So let's say you're buying it for the whole month. I don't know if you shop for the whole month or you shop for bi-weekly, but if you shop for the whole month, or it don't really matter, just get enough that's gonna last you for the whole month. Let's say you buying bananas, for example. You can buy, you know, 10 things of bananas. You could put 5 in the freezer. You see what I'm saying? And when you want to eat it, when it's time that you want to eat it, go ahead and take them out of the freezer. Let them thaw out and all that type of stuff. Or you can put it in a freeze dryer, or you could dehydrate it. So, you know, get your tomatoes. Say if you know you're gonna make spaghetti, try to make your own tomato sauce. You see what I'm saying? Or try to find the most organic, healthy tomato sauce that you can find. But we talk about whole foods. When you go into the meat, so skip all those freeze dried stuff. I mean, skip all those freezer foods. Skip all those. Go to the meat aisle. You see what I'm saying? Stock up on meat. Okay, get you a long tube of ground beef. Break it down into Ziploc bags. Store it in your freezer. You got ground beef. If you want chicken, buy the 50-pound bags of wings or the 20-pound bags of wings from Sam's. Okay, take 10 out of, take 10 and put them in Ziploc bags. Store it away. You see what I'm saying? Beef roast, chuck roast, whatever you eating like that, you know what I mean? Buy that. That means, okay, a roast that'll last you about 2-3 days. The carrots, buy those whole foods. Onions, buy those whole. You see what I'm saying? And store them away. Buy things, also buy vegetables that have long shelf lives in their whole form. Like a good one that we grew a lot of in our garden that we still have left is spaghetti squash. Spaghetti squash, pumpkins, acorn squash, butternut squashes. Those things have long shelf lives. Buy those things. Use those things. You see what I'm saying? Try to make your own bread. Buy flour. Buy a big bag of flour. I know flour is processed, but still, try to buy the most healthiest flour you can, because I mean, I don't know how to mill my own flour. I don't know how to do all that. You see what I'm saying? So buy the most healthiest flour that you could buy and start making your own breads. Start making your own pie crust. Start making your own pancakes from scratch. You see what I'm saying? You can do all this. Buy cornmeal. Stop buying, the Jiffy or whatever, the case may be. But these are all just suggestions on how to get more into eating more whole foods. And say if you must snack, buy Lay's potato chips. Buy Lay's, buy potato chips. All these Doritos and Cheetos and Hot Puffs and stuff, don't get all that. You know what I mean? And I know it's a process, but I'm just trying to tell you. You know what I mean? If you are gonna eat snacks that are not as harmful as others. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's all about a journey. You know what I mean? And taking the necessary steps in manageable increments. So what I've done, I cut out Doritos because I used to love Doritos, but then I'm looking at the bag and I'm like, man, I don't even know what half this stuff is. So guess what? Now I eat Lay's potato chips, pickle flavor or salt and vinegar, whatever the case may be, or just plain old Lay's. But to eat whole foods is doing things like that. Buying the whole foods, and guess what? This is the main thing. Cook at home. Because guess what else is processed? Fast foods. Because this is the thing, right? And I know I already said 5 minutes ago that I was finna wrap it up, but I got some more to say. So bear with me. Let's turn off the video. I don't care. Somebody need to hear this. When it comes to processed foods, do you know what happens? What happens is they put together a bunch of whole ingredients, right? And they heat it up to real high heats, stripping all the nutrients, right? Or most of the nutrients, if not all of the nutrients, stripping them out of that particular product. And they add chemicals to preserve it and to make it taste good and to make it more appeasing to the person. So by the time you're all done, it's all the fiber done been stripped out, all the vitamins done been stripped out, all of the sugars done been stripped out. All these things have been stripped out of this product, and now they putting chemicals on it and in it to make it taste good and to make it digestible, but also to preserve it on the shelf for years to come, or months to come, or a year, or however long the shelf life is on it. So by the time you take it and you put it in your body, it's so processed and it has no nutritional value that it's not a food, it's a filler. And it tricks your brain into saying I'm fulfilled, but really that's because it's a placeholder in your stomach, but it's not nutrient rich. So your liver is not pulling nutrients from it. All your different organs are not pulling the necessary nutrients from it. It's just sitting there, and a lot of times some of this stuff doesn't digest all the way, so some of this stuff is still left in your colon. You see what I'm saying? And what you just did was you might have got some fat out of it, but other than that you didn't get nothing beneficial from it. You feel what I'm saying? And what it did, it might have spiked your blood sugar, it might have raised your cholesterol, it might have raised your blood pressure, but it didn't give you no nutritional value. And that's the same thing with a lot of these kibbles and dog foods. That's why I feed my dogs mostly raw diet. Now I do have kibble, but I do a higher brand kibble that I know, you know, has some nutritional value, right? But what they do with dog kibble, they take all of these scrap ingredients. They'll say, oh yeah, made from chicken byproducts. You know what that means? That's talking about feathers, that's talking about chicken feet, that's talking about the beaks. All this type of stuff is ground together. It's heated at a high heat where all the nutrients have been drawn out of it, and it's cut into little bitty chunks. And then what they do is spray some chemicals on it to make it appeasing to dogs so that they will eat it, because it smells like something and then it tastes like something. You see what I'm saying? And you wonder why dogs are developing cancer. You wonder why animals are developing a lot of these diseases that animals in the wild don't develop. It's the same thing with humans. We developing diseases that humans in the wild don't necessarily develop, like these cancers, like these high blood pressures, like these high cholesterol, like diabetes, which is insulin resistance, like all of these different things, heart diseases. You see what I'm saying? So the moral of the story is, eat more whole foods. Try to back away off processed foods. Thank me later. Like I always like to say, if you get somebody the power to feed you, give them the power to starve you. Shalom.